Another video, purple political talk here, and today we're going to be looking at the 2020 presidential election according to the JHK forecast. So this forecast is the first time they've been around for a presidential year, but they were here for the 2018 House races. They were pretty accurate, so now they have both House and Senate and the presidential map, which we're going to be looking at today. So this map, the way it's looking, it's actually good news for Trump. So, Donald Trump and his campaign have been receiving a lot of bad news for a really long time. There's many different places where Trump might have been leading, actually, and now he's losing. However, since the big loss for Trump, of support, where Biden was doing insane in the polls, he started to gain a lot of support. We've seen Donald Trump start to recover from these things. Currently, the chances of the presidency are 82% for Joe Biden and 17.3% for Donald Trump. This is not margin of victory. It's what are the chances for the president to win. So first thing we're going to be looking at is the map. So essentially what we're seeing here, a big trend. The Midwest is pretty solid for Biden at this point, although some of these states might be a little closer than a lot of people may think. So pretty much the Rust Belt has been increasingly a little bit more support for Trump. Is it insane? No, it's 2% growth. Which again, remember, he won the election in just 33% chance of winning. So keep that in mind. So there is error on this. There's a margin of error. So let me go up a little bit so you can see everything. And that is something else to note. So generally speaking, the Rust Belt is pretty strong. And then where are the places we've seen shifts? Arizona is going a little further down to the Republican column. So is North Carolina. These states that are Republican have increasing chances right now for them and have gotten somewhat better. Florida, has pretty good chances for the Democrats at this time. But generally speaking, the map has a lot of blue. However, the red that was taken away throughout Joe Biden's rise to the kind of lead, all of that has now gone away. So the chances of Donald Trump winning at this point is rolling a 6 on a die. So it's technically almost a 1 in 6 chance. So is it stellar? That's why is that what all politicians want? No, because that's still not very good chances. However, it's going to give you at least a chance. So right now, he only has 17.3% support or chance at winning. So it's not looking too good for him. So we're going to look at the national overview, which shows us what are the average electoral votes at this time and the popular vote. So right now, the average electoral vote has gone down for Joe Biden. Before, it was somewhere around 350. Now it's around 340. Donald Trump, again, has increased 197.7. So essentially 340 to 198. So this is, I think, like a bear scenario for the Donald Trump campaign. Right now, it's looking a lot better. Maybe a couple weeks ago, we could have even seen something that did not look that good for him. We're going to see that in this graph, in the ever-changing ways for the White House. However, Biden is decreasing in his numbers. It could be either we're getting close to conventions, the election's getting closer, Donald Trump's actually being approved of. None of those things sound right, especially when it comes to Donald Trump's approval. However, Donald Trump has increased his support, and that is just a fact. The popular vote right now is expected to go 52% for Joe Biden, 44% for Donald Trump. So let's take a look at this graph, and this shows us actually what were the chances of the White House. So there's really no point where Donald Trump had bigger chances than Biden. Biden's always been in the lead. However, you can tell, I want you to look at this graph. So the pandemic hit, this early pandemic, nothing big was happening. Numbers were pretty stable, if anything. The first couple of days, Trump sunk a little bit, but other than that, he went back up. Now you hit kind of, so this would be April 18th. Cases start to pick up in the U.S., and COVID-19 handling becomes a lot more important. So this was after the Easter deadline that he said he was going to reopen the country. Everything went south from there, and there was like a span of maybe a month that he just went and stopped gaining support. What ended up happening here, though? We saw Donald Trump hit a very, 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 very bad point mid-July, and we see everything decreasing. However, we've seen a little bit of an increase for Trump. And looking at this graph is showing some of the latest days. So consistently, Donald Trump has been increasing for about 4 days, which is good. His longest growth, has been maybe a day or two in the last couple of days. So this might be the sign that the curve that goes up is coming. Is it going to take him all the way to the victory? Probably not. We still don't know yet. So here's the popular vote. So by election day, Donald Trump was well within on the chances of actually winning the popular vote. But ever since, I mean, again, same effect. COVID-19, Biden rose up, Trump starts to sink, and I mean, right now, there's very low possibility that Trump actually wins the popular vote, just because of the big. So for someone to win the popular vote, they have to fall. It has to be purple on the map. There is no longer purple, so that's not good for Donald Trump and his campaign. And I mean, Joe Biden. I mean, the poll numbers for popular vote have stayed the same. They've only increased by what 1.1%, which at the end of the day is not much. But I mean, considering that this election is going to come down to the T, it's somewhat of a lot. So that is our popular vote, and here are the electoral vote margins. So this graph shows that the more purple there's on this graph, the more likely to be competitive the race becomes. And now we're gonna see this, that Joe Biden was leading for a long time. I mean, he was only leading by what 50 electoral votes, which is not much considering how much some states carry. Essentially, it was a lot of purple, so their election was close. Again, we start to see COVID-19 handling go down, and then Donald Trump decreases with average electoral vote count. You see, he was at 200 electoral votes for a long time, and this looks a little bit more of like my prediction, 334 to 230 or to 204. That's the map, I think. But I mean, right now, it kept on going down. I mean, and last week he hit one of his low points when it comes to electoral votes. He hit 195 to 342. And ever since, I mean, he's been increasing slowly but surely. He's gained like 3 electoral votes on average, which is good for his campaign over the last couple of days. And this shows, again, we're going to start seeing this curve go like this. We usually always see it when there's the incumbent party, or at least a more popular candidate, usually has a huge spike in polls during the summer. After the summer's over, polls start to close again, and they get similar to what this looks like, especially if it's a race like this margin. So the winning White House, you see it's going to go down, and then it's going back up for the Trump campaign. So that's something to watch with this. So this is the race to 270, what they predict right now and with the states that they have going. So they have Iowa, Georgia, Ohio, Texas, South Carolina. Everything else from here is more of a safest state for Trump. They have these going for Trump at this time. And then they have a lot of the big swing states, like the 2 congressional districts, North Carolina, Arizona, Florida, and Wisconsin, putting Biden on top. And essentially, they right now have, like, with Florida up almost 5 points victory for Trump, for Biden, actually. I don't think that is completely true. I think it's a little less, but it is well within the margin of error. Or actually, like, a little bit out. But I think Biden is leading in Florida, so it's in the margin of error. Arizona, 2%, North Carolina, 1.9%. Pretty big margin there. And then the closest race right now is Maine's 2nd congressional district at 1.1%. And then Iowa is the closest in general with 0.7 plus for Trump. So this map that we're going to see right now shows the states and how much they matter by how big comparative to their electoral votes. So we're going to notice here that the Democrats really crucially need the Midwest. That's the biggest area. That's a battleground right now, kind of generally speaking everywhere, where all the states are quite large. So that's something that the Democrats are going to need to focus on. And at the end of the day, that's going to be a thing that's going to become a focus, not only for Joe Biden, but for his campaign. So now these are the tipping points where the more purple you see on this, the bigger the chances of having a flip is, or not going to the projected winner. So a lot of these places Democrats are ahead. So whoever's on the projected vote on the right side of the median, so that would be right here in the middle when you split both graphs symmetrically apart, that means that person is leading. So Florida, Biden's leading by 4.9. There is somewhat of a larger one. Pennsylvania, 6.3, so it's smaller. Michigan, 8.2, a lot smaller. So we can see North Carolina, a lot closer. There's a lot more purple. Georgia, a lot closer, a lot more purple. So right now, the Republican Party is not doing too exceptional. That we're to say something. However, I mean, they have definitely improved. I mean, we're gonna show the simulation right now, where we're going to be looking at a new simulation, and we're gonna try to. I don't know if it's going to. So I think that's not working right now. But so let's just take back a look at the forecast. So generally speaking, the Trump campaign has began to improve somewhat compared to what they were doing maybe a couple of months ago. I mean, just looking back at the graph that we're looking at, the Trump campaign has dropped a lot, and we can tell the time frame. And let's go through it right now. So we saw that the White House margin. So don't look at these margins, but look at the graph. So here was the beginning of the pandemic. Everyone thought Trump was doing okay. Then we started getting to like Easter. So in Easter there was like a big promise by Trump that he was gonna fix the pandemic. That was like his first big jump. Then mid-April, what was this? Black Lives Matter. Another big jump for Trump. And this is like the big movement of Black Lives Matter. So June, and that completely went down. You see how he literally lost almost 10% of support. So that was essentially what did it for Trump was, one, COVID-19 not keeping his promises. That wasn't that big for him. He only lost maybe 10% support or like 5%. Then, I mean, June was the real jump for Trump. And here you see he went downhill because of Black Lives Matter. And that hit of Black Lives Matter is the same difference that he could have had if everything was like similar. He could have won. Like the difference that he lost is kind of the same difference between these 2 points. So that's going to be a very thing for Donald Trump, that if he didn't lose that much support or chances at the presidency, he might have a very strong chance at the presidency. So I mean, this JHK forecast, it shows Joe Biden winning with an 82% chance of victory. Donald Trump only at 17.3. How is this good news for the Trump campaign? That means he's improving, because last week he was only at 12, which, again, not amazing. So, I mean, right now, most major states are trending Democratic, with the couple swing states that are currently trending Republican, like Texas, Georgia, Ohio, and Iowa. And I will look a lot more into these states when I do my presidential prediction, my updated one, which I'll post later today, so stay tuned for that. And also, please stay tuned for our podcast. So today we're going to have a very special guest on our Purple Projections podcast. And it's a very big political YouTuber. You're going to freak out when you guys find out who it is. And it's going to be someone cool to have on the podcast. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give it a huge thumbs up, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications to get notified when I post my next video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and goodbye.